Former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown back with us now on Midday Live, and we're going to talk about the reason many of you are off today. Hopefully some of you are also participating in some service projects to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And today, as I'm sure every year, reflect on where we are as a society, what MLK means to us today, what's on your mind?
Well, just think, if MLK was alive today, what he would be saying about Donald Trump. It would be.
What do you think he would be saying? Do you think that he would be kind,
I think he would
forgiving?
be saying a prayer for him, frankly, because I think he would think the guy needs prayer. He needs some redirecting. And I think Dr. King would have been very effective, since Dr. King comes with a religious cloth. He comes with a distinguished history. He would, with a distinguished history of doing really good things and not being politically outrageous in any fashion. It would be hard for Trump to put a phony name on him, or a funny name, as he would call it. It would be hard for Trump to disagree with Dr. King, and it would be of everybody's benefit to have a Martin Luther King face-to-face with Donald Trump.
I think that people would live to see that. I do want to show you some video from earlier today. This is when the president made a visit to Dr. King's memorial. He placed a wreath along with the vice president at the foot of the statue. I will say that the president was criticized for not having any events publicly on his schedule today. This was a surprise event that people didn't know about until it happened. It lasted for just a couple of minutes. To be fair, it is very cold in Washington, D.C. today. He made a couple of comments to the press, but didn't actually, as far as I know, say Dr. King's name in any way. He said it was a great day, it was a beautiful day, something to that respect, but nothing actually about Dr. King specifically. What do you make of that?
Well, it's just typical Donald Trump. It is not something that he would think about. He probably paid almost no attention to what Dr. King was doing during the time that Dr. King was doing what he did. After all, Dr. King was assassinated in 1968, April of '68. Donald Trump was still trying to find what to do with the money that his dad gave him. He was paying no attention, and there has not been a time period since '68 when anything associated with King would have come across Trump's bow.
Do you think that in the past few years that we have in any way gone backward, not just as one political party or one part of the country, but I just mean as a nation? Do you think that we have sort of eroded some of the progress that we had made up until now as far as racial relations and inequality goes?
I think not, because you understand that there has been a problem in America on race. It has been hidden. Dr. King's movement, the movement of the civil rights efforts in the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s, what Johnson did with the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act and the subsequent things that followed that, even though it was triggered by what Earl Warren did in the Supreme Court in Brown versus the Board of Education, and then the subsequent kinds of things that we've done since then. We have come a long ways. We've come to the point where Barack Obama could be elected to the presidency.
Or perhaps a Senator Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris may be elected to. We now have 55 African-American members of Congress. 55 African-American members of Congress. So I would tell you that we've come a long way. We have a long way to go.
I want to talk to you about how far you have come. You're 84 years old. You're the same age as my dad. We were just talking about that.
I'm almost 85.
Almost 85.
Yes.
You grew up in East Texas.
Right.
As a little boy, you grew up under an era that could not have had more disadvantages against black youth. You got what I think was called a colored diploma from your high school.
That's right, Mineola Colored High.
So when you look back and you see, here's a man who was mayor for 2 terms. Here's a man who has, despite your misgivings about it, been labeled a kingmaker in politics in California and the nation. When you look back at that, does that seem like something that could have ever been possible to that little boy in East Texas?
Well, I could not have envisioned as a kid in Texas any of the things that I've been exposed to, or the people that I've met or people I've interacted with. the people that have supported me, or whom I have supported. No, there's no way I could have ever envisioned in little Mineola, Texas, 4,500 people, where everything was separate. We lived on one side of town across the tracks, and the white people lived on the other. There was absolutely no inviting us to be a part of the overall city whatsoever. We were the workers, period. I could not have envisioned going beyond that. My mother lived in service as to what they called it in Dallas at the time. She was the maid and the cook, and she was everything in somebody's household, staying there all week and then coming home on weekends. And the same for all the other members of the family. So no, I could not have envisioned all that. But I got to tell you something, though, that it was clear every African-American kid had some parent or some relative who pushed them to be the best they could be, and if not better than anybody else around. And that is the foundation of how Willie Brown arrives where he has arrived, and so Kamala Harris arrives where she's arrived, Barack Obama arrives where he's arrived.
Willie Brown, always so great to talk to you. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
All right, thank you.